Hey there, Suzi here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to share this special message with you. Now, my co-host Michelle and I love masterminds. Not only do we belong to masterminds, but we also host a mastermind. We started it almost 8 years ago, and it is the premier mastermind for women business owners who want to grow their business with a specific focus on marketing. Now, this group is usually completely booked out, and very occasionally we open the doors and invite a handful of women in. So if you're growing your business, but you're struggling with feeling overwhelmed, or like you constantly have a split focus when it comes to your marketing, this could be exactly what you're looking for. We have an amazing time together, and the women in the group are extraordinary. They're great cheerleaders, supporters, advisors, and colleagues for you. And they're also seeing extraordinary results. We see people cracking the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million mark, launching new e-commerce sites that go from $0 to $10,000 a month in sales. They're doubling their conversion rates, they're growing memberships, they're selling courses, they're growing their personal brands, and they're getting all kinds of media exposure and speaking opportunities and so much more. You can learn more about the mastermind and join the wait list over at herbusinessmastermind.com. We're going to open the doors soon, so you definitely want to be on the list to get an invitation. So head on over to herbusinessmastermind.com. You're listening to the Content Sells Podcast, a show all about how to create content to attract, convert, and keep your ideal clients. Welcome to episode 197. I'm Suzi Dafnis, and here with me is my co-host, Michelle Falzon. Hi, Michelle.
Hey, Suzi. It is so great to be here on the podcast today. I'm really happy to be podcasting.
And I'm really happy, one, to hear your voice, and two, to be chatting with our special guest today.
Oh, me too. This is someone who has created an amazing e-commerce business. And, you know, you and I, we've been wanting to share some more e-commerce content marketing goodness for a little while now on the show.
Yes, because we have so many listeners who now have e-commerce stores. And so we're bringing in someone who is an expert and has been doing this for 12 years. Our guest today is Skye Anderton from business Ruby Olive.
Yes, and a little bit about Skye and her business. First off, she's a mum of two, as she will say, crazy boys. And what I find so interesting about Skye and so many women business owners that I know, we both know Suzi, is that she didn't really like school, but she loved business, and she found very early on that this was something she could get really passionate about. And she actually started her first business when she was 18. And then in her early 20s, she moved to the UK and she got to work in product development and buying for a high street retailer. And that's where she got a lot of the experience that she uses in her e-commerce business now. And that business she started when she got back from the UK after about 10 years living overseas. And it is the beautiful business called Ruby Olive. And Skye is the founder and CEO of Ruby Olive. And her mission is clear and simple: to inspire you to be uniquely you, to wear the colors, do the things, act bold, and live unapologetically. So we love her already. And Ruby Olive, the business, does this through their colorful range of jewellery, accessories, and lifestyle products. And I have to say they are absolutely fabulous products. I've got quite a few Ruby Olives in my collection, and they just make you so happy.
Absolutely. And we are going to give you all the details because I know some of you are listening and like, ooh, I want colourful jewellery. We're going to give you all her details. The website is rubyolive.com, just so you know, but we're going to give you all those details in a minute. For now, though, we're going to head on over to our interview with Skye.
Skye Anderton, welcome to the Content Sells Podcast.
Hello. So good to be here.
We're so excited to have you here, and we know a little bit about your business, but would you go ahead and introduce yourself and Ruby Olive?
Sure, I'd love to. So my name's Skye. I'm a mum of two crazy boys. I started my first business when I was 18, moved to the UK, and then started Ruby Olive actually 12 years ago now. So I guess Ruby Olive is a brand whose aim is to inspire you to be uniquely you. So we design, we produce, and we sell very colourful jewellery, accessories, and lifestyle products. But for us, it's really not about the product so much. Obviously, we're super proud of the products that we produce, and we love everything that we do. But we're really all about how those products make you feel. So yeah, we try to design and produce really purposefully, and we try to work with Australian female artists to celebrate their work. And we also try to use raw materials such as recycled water bottles and reclaimed wood wherever possible, so we can have that really positive impact on the earth.
Oh, I love all that. Love all that.
Me too. The color and the ethos of your business is awesome. And what I love about you, Skye, and your business is that you have got a really clear picture of exactly who you are for. Can you talk to us a bit about who your ideal client is and how you went about getting clear on who that person is? Was it something you knew from the start, or have you had to kind of get clearer about that and more refined picture of that as you went along?
Yeah, like I can tell you hand on heart, my business looked very different 12 years ago. Honestly, it's been a massive evolution, and every single year I think I'm learning more about who my customers are. And it is like, when you create a style guide where you create your avatars, it is like a working document that changes all the time, which is really great because you're learning more about what your customers want and the customers that are really connected to who you are. But if you saw what I did 12 years ago, it was very vintagey, a little bit of color, but literally I came back from the UK and I just wanted to start a business, and I wanted it to be jewellery, and I'd been away for almost a decade from Australia, so I didn't really know what the market was. And so I just started somewhere. And there was a clear direction of products that worked well, and they were the really, really colourful ones. So I pretty much focused on those, and year after year, I just did more of that. And the website became a little bit more colourful. We used to be all about storytelling on adventures of places that I'd travelled to. So all of my jewellery collections were inspired by my travels, because for 10 years I did a lot of travel living overseas. Not so much now, sadly. Not as much as I'd like to. But it's really evolved over time. And now our main audience, our audience has always been women. But now we're really clear that our main audience are women, generally 34 to 55, but obviously we have women in both categories outside of that age bracket. In fact, I hate saying the age bracket because we celebrate all women and we welcome all women. But yeah, they essentially love colour, and they're not afraid to be themselves and not afraid to not take life too seriously. They want to be inspired, and I guess the main two audiences, we've got 5 avatars, but the main 2 audiences which have grown over time, which have been really, really clear and have helped us really nut out various new products are the education sector and creative. Yeah, very surprising. Like I would never have thought that those two creatives, yes, but the educators, they are a massive audience, and it's because of listening to those people that we came up with a category, which is lanyards, that has now become one of our biggest selling categories.
Got it.
So yeah, that's
I
essentially.
love hearing how you're getting clearer and clearer on your client. And we've talked quite a bit on this show about knowing who this person is. And I'm curious, you mentioned, my ears pricked up, you said you've got 5 avatars. Do you have those people kind of documented? Do you have like an avatar document for each of those? And maybe you can tell us, or if so, you can tell us a little bit about it and whether you use that information, perhaps when you're briefing designers, or what other benefits you have from kind of going deeper on those 5 avatars.
Yeah, we don't pull it out, really. We pull it out when I've got a new staff member.
Right.
Or when I'm briefing designers, as you say, Michelle. But it was really a process of us trying to nut out our clients in a lot more detail so we could subconsciously start talking to her. So we do have a written document. It is part of our brand guidelines, which has got our values, our mission statement. It's got our customers, what sort of language, our messaging we use. But like I said before, it is like a really fluid working document. Like sometimes I pull it out from 2 years ago and think, well, that's clearly changed. So we're not really we're not married to it, because everything changes and our customer changes. But I think it's really, really helpful to nut it out and think about them and really map those customer groups out, and so everyone's on the same page when we're briefing designers, or when we've got a team. So I've got quite a few people on my team, so we're all sort of, when the social media person is writing social media copy, or creatives, or a photo shoot, we're all talking about the same 5 people, and there might be 2 the creators and the educators that are a little bit more bigger in terms of the pie, so to speak, of how many people in our group. But, it's real. I've found it really helpful to have that document.
Well, it's something that we do recommend women do, especially when they're just starting out in business and they're still, they're trying to throw spaghetti against the wall, and going, someone buy. And the clearer that we can get on who that ideal client is. And as you said, it's a living, breathing thing. Your clientele is going to age. They're going to go into different seasons of their lives. But it sounds like what you've done is like you keep your finger on the pulse, and it's always evolving. There was something that you said that, just before I go into my next question, you said 34 to 55. Why 34? Why not 35? Is this from survey data or research that you've done?
Yeah, this is mainly when we look at advertising, and we look at the data on Google, and we look at what categories. So the 34 to 45, I think it is, or 34 to 44 category is the biggest category.
Got it.
And when we're doing our analysis, that's by far the biggest category. And then the next biggest category is the 44 to 55. To 55, I think it is. Yeah. However they do their analysis in Google and ads.
Got it.
Yeah. So it's not, I don't like, it's not prescriptive. It's just data.
But it's useful, right? It's useful.
It is really useful.
It
is really useful. Right. Yeah, definitely.
Now, here on the show, obviously the show is called Content Sells. We are all about content marketing strategies for small business owners. What would you say is one of the content marketing strategies that's made the biggest difference for you in the early days, looking back, like when you were starting out?
When I was starting out, like I mentioned before, I didn't know what this business is going to look like. And so I was just throwing things at the world and hoping something would stick. But I think the thing that still gives me recurring benefits even now is blogging. So I used to blog back in the day. I mean, it was a jewellery business. I didn't even have bags. I didn't have any other things. I just blogged about things that inspired me. And I'm still getting traffic from some of those blogs I wrote 10 years ago, believe it or not. I mean, they may not be buying, but it's traffic that I'm getting. They're coming up on in search terms for specific artists, which is really great. And I think that really made it more than just a product-based business, even though I wasn't sure what the product, how it would evolve into, and I didn't know. But being that a place where people can come to get inspired about other artists out there or other things that inspire us, it was just a really fun thing to do as well. I had a baby on one arm and I was blogging on the other.
Do you still blog?
We have a blog, yes. Now it's very much more purposeful in how we blog. Now we celebrate amazing women. And now I write content pieces about what I believe on certain things. And we do a lot of interviews on women, like our models, for example, which we don't use models from agencies. We use models who are our customers or people that inspire us. So we can celebrate that whole idea of be uniquely you.
I love that.
Yeah, blogging is a lot. Yeah, I don't particularly feel like I do as much as I would like to. Business just gets, takes over. But I love it.
Great. And what about now? You're still blogging, obviously, and now you have a very clear purpose about your blogging. Is there any other content marketing strategy that's really driving the most growth in the business today?
Yeah, I mean, video storytelling. Storytelling, without a doubt, and that, blogging is part of that. But we do now have a really clear strategy on our email marketing and our social media. And for every email that we send that is about product, we have so many, which is about celebrating a woman, the artists that we work with, the women in our photo shoots, all these stories about women who also are wearing our jewels. So it's indirectly advertising, but it's just really celebrating women and telling their stories. And yeah, that is a huge thing. And it's also creating leverage as well. So we'll be telling a story about an artist who's done an incredible job creating artwork for us, and we've put it onto products. And she's also shared that in her email marketing and on her social media, because she's really proud of what we've created. And so we're getting new audiences because of that, which is wonderful. And other people are resharing it because they're like, oh my gosh, look at this fantastic collaboration. I love this brand. I love this artist, and how cool. So storytelling and doing joint ventures like that, or collaborations, have been the two biggest things which have transformed our business in the last, I think, 3 years.
Now, you have a really visual product. And so I want to, oh my gosh, I could just spend a whole day talking about this. So storytelling, video storytelling. So you're using your clients, people who inspire you, and people who, have your products as well. Can you just take us behind the scenes of maybe just some of the tactical things, like how does the video storytelling, like do you have a system where once a week we feature a member, or just tell us about the logistics of how you manage to create that content? Because video content still remains for a lot of women that Michelle and I work with a bit of a stumbling block because they find it confronting. So how does it work inside of your business?
Yeah, video storytelling is so hard, and that's another whole conversation that I can talk about later. But video storytelling is difficult. We try to do it even when we tell the story in the text and use images that we have and create a video out of the images. So we kind of create videos and montages, but we don't necessarily have the video. And we worked with an artist a few months ago, and we did a video, but there was no voice to camera. Okay. She was so comfortable because I just took videos of her smiling while she was creating. I did videos of her hands just painting. I did videos of her just twirling a handbag and walking away. I did all sorts of videos as well as stills of her, and we just had the story in the text. That made her feel so much more comfortable.
Yes. I love that. And that's a strategy that anyone can use, right? You don't have to have customers who are happy to be a talking head.
Absolutely. And, we are still a small team. We're not a massive content creation machine like some of these big brands. So we have to be really clever as well about, some people might look at our feed and go, oh my gosh, you guys create so much content, but we actually just are clever with how we do it, because it's actually not reinventing the wheel all the time. And you talk about this all the time, the two of you, about just repurposing content and getting bits and pieces from different things and seeing how you can repurpose it to make it look like it's new. But it's really just having a bit of a strategy of how you do that. I have a really big project management software called Monday.com. And that has got all of our projects and all of our weekly launches in it. And then it's got what content we've got next to it. And then we've got deadlines for different things. So we might have a photo shoot one day, but we'll be really clever and we'll shoot content. Not necessarily, this is very rarely is a voice to camera, to be honest. So we'll just create content, which we don't even know what we're going to do with it. It's just content. And we'll do maybe 6 weeks, 2 months worth of content in one day. And we'll have 5 different outfits. We might have a few different people. If we can't get customers from our audience, it might just be me and one of the other girls from the team. Or it could, if we've got, because we do dog products, we'll get a bunch of dogs together and do dog stuff. We try to make it really fun. but yeah, we're not this massive big business that can create and do photo shoots all the time. We don't have all the fancy gear to do big photo shoots, but we managed to make it work just because it's all about just not reinventing the wheel, just putting
really
it
purposeful,
something,
right?
Yeah,
You're really clear. Really good. Thank you for that.
And Skye, even though you say we're not a big business, I think anybody that follows you, and I encourage our listeners to follow you on socials and to go and look at your website. I think you do a great job of looking like there's a lot going on. And I think you're very good at being opportunistic as well. I know just from seeing you in action, we were at a conference together or a retreat together, and just watching you, take photos of people with your product on. You gave some of us your product and you sort of said, oh, can I take a photo of you with that? And I think just being constantly aware that you can be collecting content, even if you're not exactly sure of what you're going to do with it, as you said, and then finding ways to use it over the period of time. I'm curious about your one-day photo shoot. Do you book that in deliberately just to kind of collect a whole bunch of content? Is that what the whole day is about, to make 2 months worth of content?
100%. Yes. Yeah. So we book we have a date in the diary. We're all working towards that date. And it's either just a content day. We're just going to shoot bunches of transitions or just video, or we have we either come to my house, we hire an Airbnb, or depends on where we're at and how much product we have. But sometimes we might do a massive big day where we hire someone out. We invite customers. We have a hair and makeup artist, and we do the whole big shebang. But obviously that's costly, so we can't do that all the time. But yeah, in between big shoots, we'll just do it in the office, or we'll get a big backdrop up and make it look really fun. We'll go to a coffee shop. We'll find a really cute little restaurant and just ask them if we can use a corner. We've done loads of things like that. And just, I think sometimes when we've got to create so much content, it's very overwhelming to have a script of what you've got to create. I mean, I totally understand when we need to get one video done, which we've done this in the past, where we need to get one clear, purposeful video done on one day. We're like fully organized and have the script and have the whole, storyboards and all that sort of stuff. It's very high production kind of thing. But when we're just creating stuff for social media, where it's storytelling and it's just adding, a 3-second video for here or there, it's so much fun and we get so much content out of it. We just have to be all on and just, okay, let's try this. Oh yeah, great idea. Let's try this. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. So it's a different energy and it's a different intention.
Yeah, I love it. Energy and intention, and just making the space for it, right? Booking that day and having the space to play, and with the awareness of how, you do want to create regular content. So you do know some basic kind of strategic things about the content.
Yeah, completely.
And I'm listening to you, you're sort of talking about when you've got new product, and you sell the most beautiful products, beautiful necklaces and earrings and bags, and like you said, the lanyards and a whole range of things featuring the gorgeous work of women artists. And so I just want to tune the ears to our listeners, even if you don't have a physical product, that idea of setting some regular time to go and gather content, where it might be you with a client, or it might be, you on your computer, or it might be, if you talk about, having more time and space, then it's you actually out on the beach enjoying some time and space, or whatever it might be. And Suzi and I just did our 2-day mastermind event, actually, where we encouraged, and we had a whole session in the afternoon for women to go and capture some of these photos for themselves and not get too caught up on it needing to be a professional photographer. So I love what you shared there, Skye, about kind of that permission to just create. And I'm curious because that's kind of that applies to e-commerce or non-e-commerce businesses. I want to drill into the e-commerce part of your business for a minute. For those listeners that may be e-commerce business owners, what advice would you have for them in terms of growing their audience and getting more sales?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I mean, I'm speaking for myself, and obviously I'm not assuming how other e-commerce businesses or other service-based businesses work, but evolution, like website evolution. I know when you don't have a clear transaction on your website like you do on an e-commerce website, it's probably easier to, oh, my website is fine, it's not a problem. But actually, e-commerce and websites and the internet and how people view you as a business changes so much. And I think one thing I have learned over the last 12 years is you just need to keep learning. You need to keep educating yourself on how people view your website, like landing pages. Should the add to cart go up? Should you have a lead magnet here? All these little nuances, which I think are so important. They can make such a massive impact on your bottom line and your conversion rates and things like that. I think when you're an e-commerce business, you need to think about that just naturally, because that's what your business is. If you don't get traffic and you don't get conversions, you don't have a business. Whereas it's not as easy to figure out how in a service-based business or a business which is not necessarily an e-com business. It's hard to gauge whether there's the direct link or not, because you're doing so many other activities as well. But I think that is such a big thing. Is obviously you don't want to change too much. You want to reinvent them. You don't want to change your logo every 2 years. But it's really important to actually stay on top of educating yourself on how people are consuming content, how people are converting, trends. There's trends all the time. People's attention span is so short these days. On the weekend, I heard that it used to be someone has to see something 3 times before they buy, but someone was saying to me last week that it's now between 7 and 11 times that they have to see something. So, we do have to start thinking about how our content is shown, to have so much text without any kind of small typography breaking stuff up. Maybe that's something that can be improved, or maybe if you're I'm not going to go into details because you guys are so amazing at all of that stuff. But yeah, there's so many different things. I also think that data collection, working out KPIs, conversion rates, all those sort of things, we just naturally as e-commerce businesses, we need to track. And if you are an e-commerce business and you don't track, I think that's a real mistake. It's something that needs to be drilled in you to be looking at every single day, because if you're getting traffic to the site but your conversion rate's really, really bad, then obviously something is happening on your website.
There's so much in what you just said. And yes, e-commerce businesses, and that includes anyone that's selling like a product on their site, traffic and conversion is where it's at, getting people coming back, capturing their details when they come to the site. But I think that there's a lot that we can learn from e-commerce businesses, even if you're not an e-commerce business. For example, your site is very compelling. It's very contemporary. You've got the pop-up. You've got a very clear place for people to go. If you were giving advice to people who don't have an e-commerce business but still drive or expect their website to work and turn into customers, whether those customers are asking for an estimate or whether they're downloading an ebook or whether they're booking an appointment, what would you suggest that they consider, in addition to what you've just given us as advice for product-based businesses?
I would say just make sure you've got a very, very clear call to action.
Okay. Do you want to talk a little more about that?
Well, just making sure that you're showing people what to do, where to go. I know in e-commerce, you need to make sure that the add to cart button is, above the fold, most definitely, but as close to where you're looking at the product as the price as possible, so you can get them to click. So if you've got a business where you've got a landing page, the best landing pages that I've seen is you've got add to cut, not so much add to cuts, but a clear call to action in more than one place. So you've got one at the top, you've got one in the middle, because some people want to they are ready to take action, as soon as they go to the page because they've already heard about you. But then there's other people that need a lot more information to read down. I've been to websites where I'm like, where do I just call? I don't know where to call. And I go to the contact page. And I'm like, okay, I have to scroll down to the contact page. What do? I have to fill in one of those forms. It's not really, really clear. And when I fill in the form, I'm like, are they going to return my call? Are they going to call me? You don't know.
No.
So, just having lots of different places. And if it is just a contact us page, which I know some people just need to have, maybe it's having other places on your website like call me now or email me for a free quote or something really, really clear on your website where it's a very clear action step.
I love that. What about in relation to maybe the way that you've either packaged your products or generated leads that hasn't been a call me or buy now that you might recommend? The lead generation or the way that you make offers on the site?
Yeah. A big one on the site is bundling. So we bundle and upsell all the time. So I don't know if you guys have been to our website, but we have an upsell that once you're placed an order, you get an option to buy one of our $18.95 shopper bags for $10. And the number of people that take that up is actually massive, and that's increasing their average order value by $10, right. Which is massive. They may have only spent $40, but they've increased it now by another 10. So
I love that because we have one of our most popular episodes is about this step 2. Once someone takes an action, what is the next action you want them to take? Now, in your instance, it's an upsell, but for those of you who are listening who don't have an e-commerce store, you want to think about that. You want to give someone the next thing to do. So it could be that you have a free thing, but then you have a low-cost thing that you offer them once they've done that, or they've taken the first step, but what is the next step that's going to get them closer to buy? You want to use that opportunity while you've got their attention to go ahead and do that. Very quickly before we move on, lead generation ideas. What's working really well for you with generating leads from the site?
Yeah, we've got we do competitions. So competitions always work really well, but we try not to do them all the time. And we try to make the competition really enticing. We often do the competition to new customers only, like on ads. So there's 2 different types of competitions we do. We might do one which is on our socials, and it's very heavily shared. And that's for our existing customers. That we might do a competition or some really enticing lead gen, which is for customers that don't know us. And so it's built into our awareness and campaigns. So our customers probably would never see it. Our existing customers would never see it, but it's actually a little teaser, a little something, like it's more than just $10 off, or it's win $500 worth of jewels, or something a little bit more enticing. We've been playing around actually at the moment with lots of different mystery offers actually to see which ones are the most enticing. So I think that's I guess that's something that's been really good the last little bit, us just A/B testing, like just testing all the different things and work out which ones are working. But definitely the competition and a really big like win $500 or a year's worth of jewellery has always worked for new audiences. Which is interesting.
Yeah, but you're testing things.
Yeah, testing is again such a key message that I think any business owner can get from what you're saying, because none of us really have a crystal ball. We can sort of know roughly what's worked before, or have our best kind of idea of it, or see what's perhaps working for others, or map something over from a different industry. But until you've done it and you're measuring that data, to get back to something you said before, Skye, tracking that data, seeing, okay, if we do this, does it make a difference? That is just really good marketing and can make such a massive fast track for your results, because you're not wandering around just constantly throwing things at the wall and never really knowing why your results are the way they are. So I love that message. And something else, there's so many things I love about you and your brand, but one that I think is really interesting is your branding kind of story and your branding strategy. And the actual brand name, Ruby Olive, which I'm quite partial to because I have a daughter named Ruby. But Ruby Olive, is a really beautiful brand name. And there's a very interesting story behind that because Ruby Olive is a real person. And you also have quite a prominent personal brand. You show up a lot in your business. What tips do you have for others who might be in that same position of wondering, whether to have a brand or a personal brand, or perhaps how they mix the two?
Ruby Olive is my grandmother, so it's so nice. And when I was looking for names to call the business, it literally it didn't even come to me until later to call it Ruby Olive. So it's so fitting, and I love it. She's sadly passed away. But in terms of personal brand, look, I'm going to be completely honest here. I used to hide behind my business. I used to be what I refer to in a content piece that I wrote a while back, a faceless brand. And I liked that because that was, it worked for me and my confidence level and where I was at in my life and things like that. But I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? And it was probably during a time where the business wasn't doing as well as I would have hoped. I was struggling a little bit, and I sort of thought, you know what, I'm just going to throw everything into it and just see if I can do something that makes a difference. And that is what I did. I put myself in front of the camera, and believe it or not, I am more introverted than extroverted. I found it really difficult and still find it difficult. I don't find it an easy thing. I do love it now because I love how it impacts my business and it impacts people around me that, are impacted by my business. But as soon as I got in front of the camera and as soon as I did my first photo shoot, my sales increased. And they didn't increase a little bit, they increased a lot. And I just find that such an interesting concept of how, and it goes back to that whole thing of people buy from people. People buy from values that they know and trust. People buy from people that they like, people that they can relate to. And I just keep doing it now because it makes an impact on my business. And also I know that I'm now in a position in my life now that I know I've got something to offer. I know that probably before, when I was having my babies, I was not in a great headspace, and it wasn't a confident, I don't think I was very confident, and I wasn't in a very confident space. But I am really proud to say that I am really confident about who I am, what I stand for, my business that I've created. And I'm really proud of what we have done and what we've achieved. And I'm proud to be in front of my business and be, there talking about it because, it's been 12 years, 12 hard years, some 12 amazing years, but it's not easy. It certainly hasn't been easy. Yes, it's been fun, but it's certainly not been easy. I wouldn't have done it any other way, most definitely. So I guess my advice for anyone that's sort of wondering whether they should put their personal brand and their business together. Obviously, every business is different. I can't speak for every business, but I would highly recommend thinking seriously about how you can be, as long as your values align, obviously, but how you can be a real advocate and a real personality in your brand, because from my experience anyway, it has made such a tremendous difference. It really, really has. And I guess the other thing is if you are going to be that person in your brand and create a personal brand within your brand and really show up as a key person that people can relate to, maybe try and I've only learnt this in the last couple of years, which has helped me a lot as well, is maybe try and see whether there's any consistent things that you can do, consistent visual things, or making sure that your values align and making sure you're showing that you've got those same values as your business. So talk the talk, and maybe have something visual that is consistent. So if you love colorful suits, or if you love high heels, or if you wear, like mine is my red glasses. I have red glasses in everything. And yes, I have other glasses that I wear, but the number of people that have said to me, oh, you're the lady with the beautiful red glasses, or I recognize you from your glasses. I'm just not, I'm not a blonde girl. I'm the girl with glasses. And so, I've got a friend who's got crazy curly hair, and that's like her signature. It's incredible. It's so beautiful. And one day she straightened it. I'm like, oh my God, you just don't look like you. I mean, I'm not saying that don't do those things that, make you happy, but it's just really interesting, the power of personal branding and the power of having consistency, showing up in a consistent way, where it's that whole, that I was talking about before. People need to see something, 7 to 11 times. And it's that like the consistency and continuing to show up in a particular way. That's just so important. Like I've done a live video in my private Facebook group. There's about 1,300 people in there for the last 4 years, every single Friday. I have missed it a couple of times, but I literally go live every single Friday. And it's that consistency that it was about 4 years ago that I sort of said to myself, I need to start showing up. And I'm
so excited. Yeah. Look, I'm so excited to hear it, because one, you say you're an introvert. Two, we see women struggling with this all the time. And having had a business for many, many years, and having been a faceless brand till about 7 or 8 years ago, when I decided that finally, Skye, we had earned the right to put ourselves out there and also own our experience and our expertise and all that we can bring, and really own our value. I love that you were doing that. Actually, just last week, Michelle and I were in Noosa with our mastermind, and the theme, we always theme our 2-day programs, and the theme was owning more space. And so we talked about this quite deeply, how do we get in front of our business? Because like you said, people do business with people, and we don't have to be extroverted, and we don't have to be colorful, and we don't have to be anything other than what you promote, which is just being uniquely you, but showing up consistently. And I love that you explained how much of an impact that has had on your business, because it's been the same for me. And some days I still feel like I want to be on the couch under a blankie, but other days, especially when you can build it in, like you book in that video day, you're going to be on. I don't know if you have anything, but if I get my hair blow dried and I got eyelashes on, I can rule the world, right? Or it's that consistent showing up once a week, you've built it in so that you continue to show up, and that consistency has paid off.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Awesome.
Right, there's been so much good stuff happening on this conversation. I've been making notes. I've been loving it. And we've been asking you tons of questions, but I want to just know, is there anything that you feel or would like to share with our listeners today?
The only thing that I want to share is just my wish for everyone is that they can feel comfortable in being them, like be uniquely you, show up to yourself and be true to yourself. And, I think everything else will follow.
Gorgeous. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being our guest. We've absolutely loved having you on, and we've loved speaking with you, but also learning from you, and so appreciate your generosity today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Honestly, I've been listening to this podcast for so many years, and it's such an honor to be a guest. Honestly, it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Michelle, I absolutely loved that conversation, and I really could have talked all day just about every single one of the strategies that she gave us.
I know, right? I was sort of thinking, my gosh, we could just do one whole episode with Skye on video storytelling, or on personal branding, or on, how you optimize a landing page. So she's really knowledgeable. And I also loved that she wasn't too fussy about things. She's sort of prepared to kind of say, look, sometimes I just capture content. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I always might figure it out. So she had that great blend, I think, that you need to be successful in business, where you're driven and you've got passion and you've got energy and you follow your stats and all of that, but you're also prepared to allow the magic in and to play and to improvise and let things kind of unfold.
And just the value to her business, the fact that she works with women in the way she does, the values that she shared. It's just so aligned with you, I know, and with me as well, that it was just a really, really gorgeous conversation. But there were also definitely some really tactical, practical things that if you're listening, I hope you picked up. But I know I made a bunch of notes and I'd love to highlight some of those things, as I know you would, Michelle.
Yeah, look, I think the first thing which she touched on really early was when we asked her about her avatar and, does she document this person? And I think, it was really clear that she does document them, that it is important. She's actually got 5 avatars. And I thought she had some really interesting things to say because she says, firstly, that she treats it like a working document. And you and I both agree it is a living thing. You don't define your avatar and then lock it in, Eddie, and never kind of revisit it. You're always getting a deeper understanding of who that person is. Maybe even as your business shifts and changes, the age of that person changes or some of the demographics of that person change. So I love that she had that attitude of really dive deep onto who it is. Nut it out was, I think, the phrase she used, and then also be prepared to let it change over time. And the other thing I liked, well, 2 things really quickly. One, she does use them and pull them out when she's got new team members or photographers or designers, just to make sure everybody's talking to the same person in terms of their audience. But the bit that I really loved, because that's stuff we will often sort of suggest to people, but Suzi, the bit I really, really loved was she said, look, we document it all, but we do it just so we can start talking to her, their ideal client, subconsciously. It's like they internalize it. They use the going deep on the documenting just to kind of get to, okay, this is who we're talking to. And then they subconsciously and intuitively and in all the ways talk to that person. I love that.
Yes, I love that too. The other thing I wanted to say, because quite often we say, don't have 5 ideal clients or, don't have 5 avatars. But, she's an advanced business owner. She's been doing this for a while. She really understands her ideal client. She has a strategy for each of those people. And then she's presenting different offers to different ideal clients. The other thing I wanted to talk about with relation to the changing, evolving ideal client is that sometimes the products and services we want to offer change and they're no longer a perfect fit for that ideal client. So this is something that you want to revisit. This is something that we never want to assume that we've got it absolutely right. I know for me, every single day I feel like I'm getting new insights, into going deeper and deeper into who she is in our instance. Yeah.
Yeah. I think every conversation we have is enlightening when we're listening.
Go ahead.
I want to know what you had. What did you write down?
I wrote a lot of things, but the one that really sort of spoke to me was the faceless brand idea.
Yeah.
Because, as I mentioned, we just recently had the conversation with our masterminders about taking up more space with their offers, taking up more space visually with their brand and their business. And I know that some of us are introverted, some are shy, some are like, well, it's not about me. It's about my bookkeeping services or my styling services, or it's about, the solar that I install. Yes. And just have a look at the Ruby Olive site and you'll see there's all these beautiful women who are clients, but you'll also see the consistent face of the owner. And you deserve to be there. You deserve to be part of the face of your brand. Now, you don't have to be doing reels every 5 minutes or dancing or pointing or any of that. It's just about letting people know that you are the person behind the brand. And so I absolutely love that conversation.
And Suzi, the really important thing there, I think, is that it's not just for no reason that we do that. I mean, Skye is a great example of someone who says, hey, my sales went up, not just a little bit, a lot, when she realized it was more than just about the product she was selling and that she was this personal brand that people wanted to know about. So when she got herself in front of the camera, when she became synonymous with the brand and her own personal brand, it made more of an impact. It got more people coming to her site, more people buying her jewelry. It grew her business.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah. So the next thing that I kind of wanted to share was I love the 2 months content in one day. I think that's marvelous.
I love it.
And I also, what I loved about it, well, there's a few things. The intention around blocking that time, like realizing, okay, we've got a new product launch coming up. We're going to block a day and really planning that in ahead of time to her year. And sometimes they go to an Airbnb, sometimes it's at home, sometimes it's in the office, wherever it is. But there's this nice interplay, which I think was all throughout what Skye was sharing, between structure, but flexibility and play. So she didn't necessarily have the whole day to the minute determined about everything she was going to create that day. She just sort of knew, if I make the space, I have the right people there, my photographers, I get the right products there, we do a bit of brainstorming, that we can play and we can use that creative energy to make the most of the day. I loved when she said, and then we could do this and then we could do that. And I think a lot of the time we box ourselves in a bit with our content, or we don't do it because we think we have to do so much pre-work. And I think she's given us a great example of, like, make the space, turn up and see what happens in the space. So I thought that was fantastic.
And she, entered that space with great intention. And I know for us, we've often done these sort of production days when leading up to a particular promotion, and I can be really good and intentional about that. But I know for me, sometimes I've booked in a calendar like, this would be a good day to create content, but without the clear intention as to why, those days will often just get sucked up by something else, some appointment that's more important. So really having clarity about why. I also love that she gave us examples of those locations, like go to a hotel room or go to an Airbnb or find a co-working space, or, find interesting environments, but be very intentional. And, something I'm going to talk a little more about is this idea of bringing other people into it. So it's not you to camera, but it's you creating content that your customers will appreciate. The other thing I loved was the keeping educating yourself on how people interact with your content, right? And that includes your website. And I know I've got about a 6 or 7 year old website that it's definitely needing a few updates. And so if your website isn't doing what it needs to do, then how are people interacting with your content? Are they interacting with your content? Really get yourself up to date. If you're going to rely on your website, and Michelle and I just did a strategy session just this morning with a member who's really looking to drive a big part of her business, the emerging part of her business, from her website. And we worked with her to coach her through, how are people going to interact with this page? And if you don't know that, then this is just an area for you to learn, right? Find the place where you can learn the distinctions of where to put things on a website, what sort of things to put, how the pop-up should look, where the call to action should be, where that picture of that free download ought to be. That is all an education. So it's not just enough to have a website, but really continuing, if it's going to be a key vehicle for your content, to really understand how people are interacting with it.
Bring it on. I love it. And I think this is such an underestimated point, and I'm so glad that you've pulled that out of what it was that Skye said there. Suzi, another thing that Skye talked about, and I also loved how she was able to give us tips that were e-commerce related, but I can see how so much of it can be mapped over to any kind of business. And this is one of those points that I wanted to share when she talked about bundling and upselling. And I think it's easier for people to wrap their heads around it when it's a physical product, like, if you've bought some earrings from Ruby Olive, then when you go through to the next page, you get an opportunity to buy the $18.95 bag for $10. And so it's increasing her average order value. Isn't it great? Increasing her average order value for $10. She knows you're already a buyer. You're already in momentum. I know so many times I've chucked something else into my cart. I'm in momentum. I love it. And I think, yeah, sure, why not? And I think it's easy to see that example with a physical product. And if you are in e-commerce and you have some products and you're not doing bundling or upselling, and so, for example, if you sell like skin products like moisturizer, when somebody's bought one bottle of moisturizer, you can offer them, after they've gone through the checkout, to get 2 bottles and maybe make a saving. So that's kind of the bundling, or to get the cleanser that goes with it or something like that, right? That's the bundling. And that is obviously a natural upsell. You're increasing your order value. Or you can offer them some other product, something that's not related even to what they've purchased, like the bag, for example. That might be your standard upsell for everything. So if you're not doing that and you're in e-commerce, go ahead and do that right now. It's going to increase your average order value. But if you are selling a course, if you are offering a membership, if you have a coaching offer, if you are mentoring, if you have any other kind of product or service, think about how might I bundle and upsell. I've got several clients who are right now offering a fairly low dollar course, online course. But when you buy that course, you immediately get the opportunity to upgrade, to buy something else. And what that does is it improves your order value, which means you can pay more for your traffic and you can do more things to get more people into your world and seeing your ads and seeing your offers and buying from you. So I love the bundling, love the upsells.
And if you are a service, maybe you offer, maybe you do online challenges, or like one of the things we're doing right now is we have a $17 offer for a coaching week that we're running. But once people have been through the order form, they get the opportunity to purchase the recordings just in case they can't make all the sessions. And I just want to give you this number so that you can understand, and 55% of the people are taking the upsell. Now, we could have just relied on that first purchase, but really all we did was added a little thing to the order form, and we're seeing 55% of people. So you want to think about where are those opportunities for you to add something. We're not an e-commerce store owner, but we're selling something, and we have something in the archives or something else that we can add to that to just increase that cart value.
I love it. I love it. And, you know, that's when people are in their most, it's probably one of the easiest sales you'll make, because they're buying, they're clicking, they're in momentum. It takes so little extra energy to get that extra sale.
I think by far the topic I enjoyed most on today's interview was that of storytelling and collaboration, and the fact that Skye is a great storyteller herself, obviously, and she has the ability to write and to tell stories, but that she's collaborating with her clients, with people she respects, with the designers. And that, remember, this show is about content marketing, is that user-generated, that co-created content is so powerful. Like, this show is powerful because it's me and Michelle, and you get, you know, the expertise that we both have. We each have over 20. But when you bring in your customers into your story, they will sell your products and services 1 million times more than if you were saying, buy my thing, it's a really good thing, because their stories are relatable, especially when you've done, going back to your very first point, Michelle, they've done the work of knowing who the ideal client is. So then when you're storytelling and you're collaborating, you're putting more and more people just like me, your ideal client, in front of me. And that makes selling your products, whether they're services or whether they're beautiful jewelry items like Skye's, that much easier.
I love it.
Awesome. Now, Skye has very generously offered to give you, our listener, 20% off all full price products over at the Ruby Olive website. And that is a special just for our Content Sells listeners. It's a one-time use per person offer. And all you need to do is jump on over to the website, which is www.rubyolive.com. So that's RUBYOLIVE.com. And you want to enter the code Content Sells at the checkout, all one word, Content Sells in uppercase, right? Content Sells in uppercase at the checkout to get your 20% off your purchase. So we are going to go ahead and put the details over on our show notes page. So if you're driving right now, you're like, I really want that, but I didn't get it. Then you just want to go ahead and go to herbusiness.com/rubyolive, RUBY, and we will put that offer there. So thank you again to Skye for being our guest. Thank you for the generous discount, and thank you for the generous sharing of your strategies on storytelling and how you've grown your e-commerce sales.
So generous. Love it. Thank you, Skye.
Awesome sauce. So just before we wrap up today's episode, I would like to do a shout out to one of our listeners. This is the wonderful Michelle Pascoe from Oops. And she is re-listening to the Content Sell series. So she's gone back to episode 1, and she put this post on our Content Sells page. She said, I love your podcast and I'm nearly back to the double digits. Every podcast has that aha moment plus a moment of reflection.
Love it.
And I wrote back to her to say, I love that you're revisiting them all. There are over 195 at the time mini marketing courses in there. And that's it. We try and make every single one of these episodes as valuable as possible with really practical skills. So we appreciate the shout out, Michelle. If you have been listening today and you enjoyed the episode, we would love it if you would head across to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating or a review. Now, there's a number of other things we mentioned in today's episode that we would like to link to and make available to you. And to access these goodies, all you need to do is head on over to herbusiness.com/rubyolive. And once again, that is RUBYOLIVE, as well as the offer from Ruby Olive. We'll link to anything else we mentioned that is worth following up on. And we'll also give you the contact information for Skye and for Ruby Olive and where you can find the business and all the different platforms. That is our show for today, but we have a great new episode coming up 2 weeks. Michelle, would you like to give us a little tease as to what that one's going to be about?
I'm such a teaser. I would love to. We are going to actually be doing an episode on something that I know just even in the last few weeks, Suzi, we've had several people ask us about it. We have people ask us about it all the time. And that is how to use case studies to tell customer stories. They're a very specific type of customer story. It's not a testimonial. It's a case study where you actually demonstrate how somebody has used your product or service and you tell that story. And so we'll be digging into some of the tips and strategies we have for how to create those case studies, but then also how to use those case studies to attract the attention of your ideal customers and get more people in your world and buying from you.
That's coming up 2 weeks from now. If you don't already subscribe to the show, be sure to hit subscribe wherever you are listening right now, and we will be back with that episode real soon. Michelle, anything you want to say before we go?
I just thank you again to Skye, and I love that discount, that 20% discount. I shall be checking that out. It's Content Cells, all caps, all one word, Content Cells over at the Ruby Olive website for that discount. Thank you, Skye.
Thank you, and thank you for listening. We love putting the show together for you right here on the Content Cells podcast. Bye for now.